This video is about the top 10 cities in Florida where home prices will go down. And if you're thinking about buying in one of them, you should probably wait. And if you're thinking about selling in one of them, you should have done it yesterday. If you agree with some of the so called experts that exist right now. If you're new to the channel, welcome aboard. My name is Chris Igoe. If you're a returning viewer, then you know I've been sharing about all of the leading indicators, all of the newsworthy events, all of the happenings right now that at some point will absolutely 1000% lead to a correction or crash because it's obvious it has to happen. But I'm no market timer. I'm not an analyst. I'm not an economist. I'm not a government official. I don't have inside information. I don't know when this is going to happen. And anybody who tells you that they know when it's going to happen, that they can time the market perfectly, is totally full of nonsense because nobody can do that. But a broken clock is right twice a day. And everybody wants to know when the Florida housing market is going to crash. It's the question on every Florida home buyer, home seller, and investor in 2023. Because although it seems obvious that the markets, all of them must crash and the everything bubble must crash, and it feels like it should happen soon, that doesn't mean that it's going to. Which also does not mean that I'm burying my head in the sand and I don't know what's going on. I know that at some point, all of these things must happen. But in the interim of the doomsday scenarios playing out, a lot can happen in terms of appreciation between now and whenever that is. And while you can very easily point to data and make the observation that the prices in Florida for homes have skyrocketed, because homeowners are sitting on a metric shit ton of equity. There's no market that I've covered, and I cover all 22 metros in the state of Florida on a regular basis. There's not one that has not astronomically skyrocketed since pre-pandemic numbers. And while it would be very easy for me as an analyst, which I'm not an analyst, it would be easy for my daughters who are in elementary school to be able to look at a chart and come up with the opinion that the market is overvalued based on home values today versus where they were in 2019. But the market doesn't care what I think about the value of homes. The market doesn't care what you think about the value of homes. The market doesn't care what anybody thinks about values for homes because the market is always right. And the market is always dictated by supply and demand. Your home is only going to be worth what a buyer is ready, willing, and able to pay right now. And right now, despite all of the massive appreciation and the overvaluation that may or may not exist within the housing markets, people just like you are buying homes every single day. And now the government is trying to sell us that inflation and unemployment are actually in our favor and things are starting to get a little bit better. And what do we see happening? We start to see mortgage demand surge. And I suspect towards the end of the year, when it appears that we've made some headway in terms of inflation and improvement in whatever thing they come up with, I suspect it's very likely at some point the Fed will reduce Fed funds rates. And when they do, mortgage interest rates will get better. And when that happens, it's off to the races, my friends, in terms of demand, in terms of appreciation. The powers that be can absolutely manipulate the system to create an economic outlook that looks good for reelection. And there are plenty of things that can be done to stimulate the economy and stimulate the housing market to create more demand. And you can bet your sweet bippy that those things are going to happen. And while it's possible the Florida housing market is overvalued right now, tell that to anybody who bought a home over the last 20 years, or really at any point in history, because real estate always trades, and over time, it always trades higher because of scarcity of land and supply and demand. And in my market, there is no more land to develop. And there are 1,400 new people who move to Florida every day. They want to escape the tax burden and the restrictions that exist where they live, and they want to max out Florida living to the fullest and bring down their tax burden. And yes, I am aware there are plenty of folks that are priced out of the market. And I'm aware that property insurance has been a complete disaster and has gotten tremendously more expensive, which has priced many people out of the market. And property taxes are a problem too. I'm not unaware of any of these things. There are a lot of folks that are priced out. And there are plenty of folks around the country and around the world that want to and can afford to max out Florida living to the fullest. They want to live their best life now. And they're not interested in waiting till the all-time low, which nobody will ever be able to predict. They want to live their life now. They want to max out the utility of their home and escape winter and state income tax forever. And frankly, I can't blame them. And there are some folks out there that think they are analysts or act as if they are that point to the record inbound migration in 2022 of nearly 500,000 new residents. But there's many folks out there that have the opinion that migration will go down, that the inbound migration will crash. And at some point, they're probably right, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. So although I know that we are in a bubbly market compared to any other time in history, the setup is in for it to get a hell of a lot more bubbly. But right now in the state of Florida, distressed sales are non-existent. There are almost none. They are statistically insignificant. And it will take years for that inventory to impact home values. But make no mistake, it will impact home values. In fact, back when the market crashed the last time, it only took 10% of the overall sales to be in distress for the market to correct by 30%. And that's not even the definition of correction. That's actually a crash. It crashed 30%. Anything up to 20% is a correction, and anything over 20% is considered to be a crash. And if that distressed sale reality is realized, you can bet your sweet bippy that every city in Florida and every city within the nation is going to be impacted negatively if that inventory ever sees the market. Because I don't know that it will. Because this time is different than last time, because there is a tremendous amount of institutional money, big time players that are capitalized right now to take advantage of it. And last time, those homes hit the market. And they might hit the market in the future, but it's also possible they never see the market at all. They're instantly gobbled up by the institutional money, which will buffer and insulate the crash. But it could mean that the government or institutions funded by it become your new landlord, which takes us to the top 10 cities in Florida where home prices could decline the most. And first one up on the list from this article that I'm reading is Lakeland, Florida. Lakeland, Florida, according to this report, home prices are 34% overvalued compared to the long-term fundamentals dictated by incomes. And while it's factually true, there are many markets that have appreciated well over what the median income is. It's also true that many of the markets that exist in other parts of Florida have become so saturated and so expensive that the people who live in them are looking for more affordable price points within the state of Florida. And Lakeland happens to be one of those more affordable markets. And Lakeland is a market that is untapped because my market is almost completely saturated. There's no more land to develop. That is not true in Lakeland. And builders know it, so they will have a field day in Lakeland. And they are capitalized in a way to create better terms for buyers who want new construction. And the folks that can't afford new construction in my market can definitely afford it in Lakeland, which takes us to number 2 on our list, which is the Tampa St. Pete Metro, which according to this article is now a bigger bubble than in 2006, which suggests the reality that prices could drop by 33%. Well, why stop at 33%? They could drop 100%. And I could sprout wings and fly around the room. But it's very unlikely to happen because the folks who live in northern parts of the country and the folks who live in other places in the world where it's cold and it snows and it's landlocked are thrilled to escape all of that and live the coastal lifestyle in an incredible community, which is pro business, pro family, and pro freedom. And to be clear, when all the doomsday things happen, every market is going to be hurt badly. But in the interim, Tampa, Lakeland, and every other city I'm about to talk about will continue to uptick. And keep in mind when the great financial crisis happened and the stock markets got eviscerated, it took another 5 years for that impact to actually hit home prices. And none of those crashes have happened yet. Because they're going to happen. And when they do, you can expect 5 years later, home prices will eventually catch up because home values are lagging, which takes us to number 3 on our list, which is Miami, West Palm Metro. And the fact that these markets are lumped together in the same metro is criminal because the truth is the markets that trade within Miami, Broward, and Palm Beach County are completely different. And the financial makeup of the people that live in each one of these cities is completely different. And the demand to live in some of these cities is off the charts insane. But in others, there's very little demand, at least relative to the recent past. But the idea that the market is overvalued by 32% is ridiculous given the market conditions right now, which is why it's critical you work with a professional that understands the hyperlocal market that you're shopping in or thinking about selling in order to advocate and negotiate for you the right way. Because ain't nobody overpaying on my watch and ain't nobody not getting full market value when they sell, irrespective of market conditions, because the truth is the market is always good for someone. And a professional knows how to create a market within a market in order to find the one buyer on planet Earth willing to pay more than anybody else. And if that's something we can help you with, then please reach out because we would love to. Which takes us to number 4 on our list, which is the Northport and Sarasota Metro. And honestly, I'm not going to waste your time or mine going into a deep dive analysis of what their opinion is, because their opinion, in my opinion, is garbage. And honestly, everything that I've already shared in the cities that I've shared about, it's the same analysis for all of the cities. So I will name the cities because I think it's important you know what they think. Crestview, Fort Walton Beach is up at number 5, followed by the Ocala Metro, the Jacksonville Metro, the Port St. Lucie Metro, Pensacola, and Orlando. And I'll summarize it by saying all of them are somewhere between 30 and 35% overvalued because people are no longer going to move to Florida and the recession is going to be bad. So please keep in mind, this is my non-analytical opinion as a boots on the ground operator of a high performance real estate team that monitors the markets in Florida every single day. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that when those bad things happen, no shit, Sherlock. Of course, home values are going to go down. But I don't see people not moving to Florida anytime soon. And while I understand the recession is absolutely going to get bad, there are folks out there right now lying to us about unemployment, inflation, and the fact that there even is a recession. But I can tell you, as of right now, there is no housing recession in my market today. But there will absolutely be a massive crash when all the bad things happen. And I'll quote Red from Shawshank Redemption when he was talking to Andy Dufresne, and he said, either get busy living or get busy dying, because you're never going to time the absolute bottom or the absolute top of any market. But in the interim, within the state of Florida, there are opportunities that exist because the supply side has stacked so differently than it has over the last few years that you can go out there and negotiate an incredible deal today. You can escape wherever you're at and max out South Florida living and get a better deal on the home that you want to buy right now if it's right for you. And if it's not right and you want to time the all time low in history when it eventually happens in 5, 10, 15 years, or whatever the timeline is, because frankly, it could happen tomorrow. But I doubt it because the powers that be don't want that to happen because that is not an electable position. But at my age, I don't want to wait to live my best life now, a day, a second even. Life is for living, and I want to max it out to the fullest. Now, I hope you found this content valuable, and if you did, please subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, and please follow me on Twitter. In the event I was to ever not be on YouTube, you can find me at I Go Home Group on Twitter, right next to Tucker Carlson. And while I've yet to determine whether he's a good neighbor or not, I suspect Twitter is a good place for me to be. If you're thinking about buying or selling anywhere, please reach out because we would love to help. And check out my next video because I suspect you will love it a lot. And until next time,